Welcome to Sunday Centric on Sanele Daily Bites on leadership and self-improvement. Today, I want to talk about overcoming past disappointments so that you give yourself a fair chance to succeed in the future. On Sunday Centrics, we try to speak about relatable topics that are a bit personal, that you can relate that one is not just a robot issuing out advice and tips every other day, but there is a personal story behind all the wisdom and insights that one has gathered over the years. So this morning, my WhatsApp friends would see that I spoke about the scripture that says, "Do not long for the good old days." The teacher in Ecclesiastes chapter 7 says, "That is not wise." What does the scripture teach us? It teaches us that we ought to live in the moment, embrace the current, so that we are ready for the future. Because when we are stuck in the past of what the past could have been, we rob ourselves of true success and true happiness. One of the quotes that I think of today as well is that true forgiveness is letting go of what you think the past should have been and allowing the present to be what it is. So I dealt with a lot of issues internally when I started my career. In fact, it started working at a bank, and I had hoped that I would work for a different bank because I had my preferences. But the system of my bursary allocation ended up allocating me in another bank. And so when I took that role, I took it with a lot of resentment, such that I didn't see the opportunities that were given to me because I continuously thought about the fact that I did not want to be in this place. I've seen a lot of young graduates as well, whereby the working environment becomes unpleasant for them. It certainly was very unpleasant for me when I started out my career because I continuously thought and told myself that this is not the place I wanted to be in. I wanted to be in a different place. I had my preference, but people were not listening to me. So what that does, that it builds this resentment, and you want to prove people wrong. And in that process, most of the time, you only end up just hurting yourself because you are not giving yourself enough opportunity to learn, to absorb the lessons that you are now in this environment, which you did not prefer. So that was the initiation of the internal conflicts when I started working. I believe I then was, moved into another training office where I trained very well. I had a good time there. But I think as I developed in my career, when I faced my struggles in terms of my qualifying exams, my second board exam, I struggled to pass that. And all of a sudden, I needed to deal with failure. And I had been a person who had been lucky enough that through their varsity years, they were passing through without supplementary exams. And the first board exam passed through first time. So there was all of that pressure in my profession, passing the CTA first time, passing the boards first time. And we put this pressure on ourselves because we tend to have, I certainly had that, these time frames, by age 25, I must be qualified CA. By age this, I must have property. By age this, I must have net worth of X amount. But life is set up very differently. It does not always, in fact, I can argue that most of the time, it will not go according to your timeline. It will go according to the time that God has set for you. I always say that there's a path that is set out for any person before they are even born that they can't avoid. So whatever tricks you try to do, life has a way to just bring you back just where you are supposed to be. So I struggled with this a lot. And this ended up with me not staying in jobs. So I would stay in a job for like a year and 6 months, then I quit. I quit without a plan B. I try a business here, I try a business there, and things would not work out. And this derailed a lot of my progress. This impacted my personal credit score, for an example, because I would have debts and obligations And when I quit a job without a plan B, money would dry up very quickly. So I was in this cycle for a number of years. I think probably what more than 8 years of my career. I'm now maybe like 15 years of corporate career. And more than half of those years, I had this ongoing struggle. And I think the last blow really was when I got a job um, in an African country, Nigeria, with a blue chip company in South Africa, listed in the JSE. And I was appointed as a financial manager in that role. I was 27 of age, and I was earmarked to be, the next financial director of that division. And I had this in my mind, that I needed to prove people wrong, that I needed to prove myself to myself that I could do this. And so my motive was just incorrect. It was misplaced because I wanted to prove so much to myself that I could do this. And I was not enjoying the moment. I carried a lot of anger with me, a lot of resentment, to say I could have been an FM by this age and whatnot. So, anyways, that work was supposed to be 3 years, of contract, and I think it ended up after a year in that job. And how it ended was very painful because it actually ended in a way that I least expected. It was through a comment I made on a Facebook post. Imagine that was back in 2016, and that comment, one of the people who were interacting with it sent it to a finance executive that I was working under, and their interpretation that it constituted hate speech. And that comment on that post was actually me trying to debug or respond, to racist comments by what against a figure that I respected, Sia Kolisi, by the way, when he married his wife. So I got involved in that debate with people that I did not know. And that's why I had a harsh realization that social media is indeed faceless. That there's people, hiding certain accounts. They would say anything and they've got nothing to lose. And you find yourself debating on social media. So that was my harsh lesson. And I actually lost that contract. I think I was forced into a corner to just resign because it had become unpleasant. The people that I was reporting to were not happy with me, you know. And so I came back to South Africa. And in 2017, I took a job in consulting continuously. I had this thing that it was unfair. I did not deserve to lose that job. I needed to be given another chance. I had never said anything bad within the working environment. I had always respected the company policies. So this anger again developed on life being unfair. And I struggled with every opportunity that will come. I just would not see, I would get roles of being a finance manager, but I would not see the beauty and benefits of those roles because continuously I'd be thinking, I could have, I could have been CFO by date. I could have been the FD by date. I could have. And that crippled me a lot. So, what I want to just really highlight today, and in my spaces, my platforms, I share this a lot. And I always welcome, young entrepreneurs and young graduates to engage on this. That it becomes very important to be able to let go and let go very quickly, of past disappointments because that can prevent you, that can block your success for the future. So I hope today you realize that it was not better in the past. What you keep feeding yourself about the past having been so much better is not always true. Majority of the time, it's not true at all. You are just more familiar with the past. You are more comfortable with how things were in the state that you were in. But the truth is that you were not always at your best. And now you are given an opportunity to be at your best. So push yourself to continuously strive for new opportunities. I believe you can recreate just about anything in your life. One of my favorite quotes as well is that life is a pretty resilient thing. There is no such thing as the biggest mistake of your life. it always works out. In one way or the other, you always find a way to correct what you think would have been the biggest mistake of your life or the biggest loss of your life. So as we reflect on the Sunday Centric segment, we connect with our spirituality, we connect with our mind, refuel our energies and batteries for the week ahead. I want to invite you into the most amazing space in the world, the space of letting go and letting go completely. Because that's where you start to enjoy the opportunities that will be present in your life. That's where you actually start to tackle even issues of imposter syndrome. Because a lot of imposter syndrome, the feeling that you are not good enough, is because you think you are supposed to be somewhere else. You think you don't deserve to be in that space that you are in, and you think you don't belong there. I want to assure you that wherever you are right now, that's exactly where you are meant to be. And probably it's a matter of time for you to move to the next level. But I just want to caution that do not look back. Do not think the past was better. Continuously ask yourself, what is it that I needed to learn from the past? You learn that, you move on. Take on to the next assignment. Give yourself a fair chance. Give yourself a fair shot. Self-sabotage is real. To the graduates in the corporate world, do not sabotage yourself. Do not breed impatience. Work towards being patient with everything that happens. Learn from it. And you have a better chance of enjoying your journey in corporate, in self-employment, in entrepreneurship, in any other sphere that you are in your life. I wish you a wonderful Sunday. I wish you a restful Sunday. And let's talk again tomorrow morning on our Monday Marbles. It's an everyday inspiration, changing of ideas, exchanging of ideas in the Sanele Daily Bite. All the best.